Good afternoon. We're going to go on a very quick tour of European railways. Saw some very interesting stations on my trip last summer, and not that many of them have a great deal of applicability to Virginia, but you can see stations, how the Europeans are going about station planning. Michael, how do I advance?
And you can just press in if it's a PowerPoint.
We're having a little problem advancing the slides.
Maybe you should trade seats and do it yourself. Well, are you in this program or are you in something else that's running in the background? Look for the blue icon that says Zoom on your tray and click on that.
It's PDF.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
There you go.
Got it?
Scroll. It's just a scroll.
Just scroll. Yeah. Okay. Flew into Frankfurt. Caught a train at the Flughafen train station. That picture on the left is a corridor connecting the airport to the train station. I thought there should be a sign that said, "You're approaching infinity, beware of converging parallel lines." On the right is the main concourse at the train station itself. Two fingers to scroll.
Try your down
This
arrow.
is the German railway train that I took. Trains of one country now all over Europe cross over into other countries. So this was a Frankfurt to Brussels train. And you can see the width of the station platform, and you can see two trains in love. The station stop at Cologne, Germany. Interesting structure. It's a very interesting architectural treatment. You can see on the right-hand picture the spires of Cologne Cathedral. Crossing over into Belgium, this is the new train station at Liège, Belgium. The architect is Santiago Calatrava, who designed the Oculus station for PATH at the World Trade Center in New York City, and has done a number of famous train stations in Lyon and also in Japan. Arriving in Belgium at Brussels Nord, which is a rather famous Art Deco station. Empty room here because it's an early Sunday morning. But there are three stations in downtown Brussels. Nord has trains on the surface. They then go underground to Brussels Central and Brussels Midi. So this is, again, the platform, upper level platform at Brussels Nord. You can see the local train and so on. And I went over to Antwerp. Antwerp was very interesting. When they modified it, they did not build up, they built down. And there are now through tracks at the bottom that are on the high-speed line connecting Brussels and Rotterdam. Here again is looking down at the lower through tracks, and the upper tracks are all stub end tracks in the station. The Antwerp station is really quite something here. Very elegant. And when it was built in 1905, it was called the Cathedral to the Railway. And you can see why. Hard to emulate this again in this day and age. Back in Brussels at Midi Station. Now this is an underground station. On the left, just a sign talking about an upcoming strike of metro, trams, and buses. Interesting display there. And on the right is a French train that goes from Brussels to Paris, and I took it to Lille, Europe. In the city of Lille, there are two train stations. Lille, Europe, on the left is where the high-speed trains all run through, and also the Eurostar trains run through this station. And on the right, about a less than 10-minute outdoor walk, uncovered walk away, is the Lille Flanders train station that handles all of the local trains in northern France. On the left is, I just call it train time at the Lille Flanders station, with some interesting decor that they've hung up. And the local train that goes to Valenciennes, France. Again, you can see platform widths. There are generally high-level platforms throughout virtually all of these stations that I observed. And also too, all doors open. So faster loading and unloading of trains. My Amtrak train this morning here at various stations did not have all doors open. And so they have to have manned attendants at every station, at every train door that's open to help people up and down the stairs. Not so in Europe. All the train doors open. This is Valenciennes, France. Train station. Valenciennes and this northern region of France is sort of like the West Virginia of France. This was the old mining area and industrial area. Years ago, I had visited a wheel foundry in Valenciennes. But in Valenciennes is now the headquarters of the European Union Agency for Railways, known as the ERA. And that's, in a sense, the equivalent of the Federal Railroad Administration, although this agency then sets sort of uniform standards for Europe, and then national state agencies have to implement those regulations. My daughter Anne met me at Paris Gare du Nord, and I came in on a TGV from Lille. On the right is the headquarters for the UIC, the International Union of Railways, where I attended a meeting. This is a coordinating body for European railroads, but also has a world body that coordinates railroad advocacy. It is an agency belonged to by railroads. It is not a government organization. Here's in a train station, the Gare de Lyon in Paris. My daughter and I are having a snack at the Train Bleu restaurant. And then there's the main dining room on the right. This is the kind of dining room I would like to see emulated in more train stations in the US. I'm not holding my breath for that. This was where wealthy Parisians went for a meal before boarding the Blue train, the night sleeper train to the Riviera to visit their estates down on the Mediterranean coast. At Gare de Lyon is an Italian high-speed train, the Frecciarossa, the Red Arrow. And I took this from Paris to Milan, Italy. This is executive class. They have coach class, first class, which is two and one seating, and then executive class, which is 1-in-1 seating, really deluxe. Milan Central Station, completed in 1931. Mussolini's, one of his monuments, wanted it to represent the power of his regime. There are 3 great halls, all parallel to each other. This on the right is Great Hall number 1, which is what you enter from this outdoor plaza. Then parallel to it is on the left, Great Hall number 2. And then you see escalators and stairways going up to Great Hall number 3 on the right, which is the level at which the trains come in a stub end terminal. Now, Milan Central has only intercity trains, no commuter trains. What's interesting is Five Guys restaurants coming in to Milan Central, and you'll notice that it's replacing the Burger King that's been there for years. And on the right is a train board, and that list of train departures is for 2.5 hours. A lot of trains in and out. Now, there are multiple train stations in Milan. There's a private railroad company called Ferrovie del Nord Milano. Also, it's doing business these days as Tren Nord, and they run half-hour service to Como, Italy, from Cadoma Station. And here is the station at Como, Italy, and it's a simple station, and like I say, it's half-hourly service. And why is there twice hourly service? Right to my back here, to your back, looking at these pictures, is Lake Como. Beautiful, with estates, grand hotels, small villages. What a beautiful setting. That's why there's frequent train service. Then there's Garibaldi train station in Milan, which is for commuter trains only. And in the passage to the trains, they hired some graffiti artists to paint, do paintings along the walkways to entertain the passengers. Back here in Milan, we had hoped to meet with the Italian railways in Milan, but they said, no, we can't do that. You're going to have to come to Rome. Sigh. So we had to go to Rome and took this Italo, which is, again, a private company. It's not the Italian railways trains, but Italo is a private company that runs service between Milan and Rome.
They use the same tracks?
Same tracks, same stations. And we were going 300 kilometers an hour. That's 186 miles an hour on that run. And our meeting with the Italian Railways, Ferrovie dello Stato Italiane, was talking about the latest versions of what I'll call positive train control in Europe, that they are satellite based, that they are working on. Here is the Rome Termini train station, and it's a bit different, as you see, from the Milan train station. And here was my train on the left. That was an Italian, an Italian Railways train to Frankfurt, back to the airport. But and then finally on the right is an old signal bridge just north of Milan Central. I was shocked that we actually on our train went under it. I couldn't take a picture of it when we did that, but that is still an active signaling tower north of the train station. Just a couple pictures to show you that I saw other things that besides train stations. But beautiful ride. And now we're into Switzerland. And finally, back at Frankfurt Airport, this is the departure board, and a lot of airplanes in and out. That's it. With that, Michael, I turn back to you.
Okay,
Very interesting, beautiful.
thank you. How do you get a job like yours?
Well, this It was a vacation business trip. I told my boss I was going on vacation to Europe to visit friends and my daughter and so on. And I said, can I have time when I'm there to visit the European Railway Association Agency, the UIC, the Italian Railways, and so on. And those days counted as business days. I had worked that way at FRA years ago.
Good. Christine is pulling up her presentation, and while she's doing that, I'm gonna introduce our next speaker. Christine Fix is an alumna of Hollins University, where she got her BA degree, and then she went to UVA, where she got a master's in urban and environmental planning and historic preservation. And she's got over 20 years of experience in multimodal planning and project management. And before she became planning director for the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority this past January, she was a senior partner at McDonald for over a decade, during which time she worked very closely with North Carolina DOT Rail Division and the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation. And the balance of her early career was with Richmond Regional Planning Commission, City of Richmond, and Lochner Engineering Consultants. And I believe that was where she helped write West Virginia's state rail plan. Am I correct? She is so well suited to be in the position that she's in now. And I've heard from other people that Virginia really got a find when she became planning director at VPRA. So I will turn everything over to Christine.
Thanks for that glowing introduction. I'll live up to it. Thanks for having me. As Matt said, I'm Christine Fix, the new director of planning at VPRA. And so I came on board, and of course, the Transforming Rail in Virginia program was already full steam ahead. So I'm playing catch up. So pardon me, I'm getting there. We've got a lot underway and lots of ambitious things going on. But let's talk about stations. First off, I'll keep saying this. I think y'all know, y'all are in the business. We're VPRA, Virginia Passenger Rail Authority, created by.
We can't hear Christine.
2020. We were given those special powers to design, build, finance, not operations, but own assets and right of way. So that's a bit different from DRPT, which is more of a planning and policy functions. And we're partnering, of course, with Amtrak to deliver commuter and rail service. Our other partner, and we are governed by a 15-member board. So back to kind of the DRPT and VPRA split. DRPT still in control of statewide planning, policy, freight information, and VPRA, we're strictly passenger. We own the right of way. We do project development, project delivery. So everything that we will build, you're in charge of, and will be underway here soon. So let's talk about station policies and the state rail plan. Back in 2017, the state rail plan really prescribed some very specific things on station policies. And it was prior to the Commonwealth Rail Fund development. There was no money at that time. Now we have funding. Now VPRA exists. And now we, VPRA, have a responsibility to upkeep the stations we own, the platforms, make them ADA accessible, bring them back into a better state of service, state of good repair. And so we assumed responsibility for a lot of stations and the platforms themselves. And so this policy wasn't really applicable anymore. So DRPT, and when they did the state rail plan update, we went to more of a framework policy, and it's more collaborative. It's more general than the previous policy that was very prescriptive and said, here are the steps you do. Now it's future station improvements will be implemented in part by VPRA as well as our partners, which would be local governments or like New River Valley, a station authority. So we don't have full control, but more of partnering with others, especially the local governments and communities, to deliver a station. Again, we're more focused on the platform, the trackage, and getting there operationally. And of course, everything will go before our board to determine prioritization of the station improvements and funding that might be available from the state. Again, I'd like to say we're partners, and if we can help achieve and go after federal funding, be happy to do that as well for our local partners, since there is a lot out there. And we've learned a lot, and that is one of our things that we can do is seek federal funding.
Okay, I'm gonna remember that.
Understood. And as I mentioned before, our station priorities, this is Egg Trip Station. Our focus has been primarily, as soon as we got them, to focus on ADA and safety and security. We want our stations to be safe, dry, and bright. And then after all of that initial work, then we want to move forward and move to capacity, improving expansions and such. But we really want to meet our passenger needs because they haven't been met in many stations. So that's what we're, at least the first goal of getting done on our stations. Again, we're partnering with Amtrak. They have their prescriptive planning and guidelines, and that's what we're using as a basis for our any designs and work moving forward. And their guidelines kind of prescribe to us design standards, criteria, very specific and size, and as we were talking earlier, ridership, based on ridership. And it's meant for, it's public, so anybody can look at this and kind of base a station off of. And that's what we're using when we plan for stations. They're category 1, and I'll go into detail about these: large station, medium station, caretaker station, and a shelter station.
That's based on ridership.
Exactly. Right, and here's the large station. All the monster ones that we think of: Penn Station, Union Station in DC, Chicago, Philly. They are annual passengers of 400,000 to 1 million. Lots of train frequency, anywhere from 70 to 50, and they're staffed ticket offices, baggage, customer service, first class lounge, seating, commissary, police department, etc. So these are our very big stations. So the only one in Virginia, well, not in Virginia, but on our routes would be Union Station, DC. So next year down, a medium station. Our Humboldt Staples Mill Road station is a medium station. It's the largest ridership in Virginia, actually one of the largest in the Southeast. We push more people through Staples Mill Road than Charlotte. And that's a big thing to say. And we're pretty proud of that number. But here are some other stations that are very similar. The new Union Station in Raleigh is the same kind of classification size, and it's staffed with ticket offices, baggage, customer service, another lounge, and an Amtrak police. So that's where we are right now.
Rather striking when you look at Freedom's Mill and the other in the category.
And that is why I put it in there. And Humboldt, but you push a lot of people through Staples Mill. We'll see when Main Street Station comes more online, if that continues to hold true. We think it will. We think we've got enough ridership to succeed on both, but we're still working on what to do with Staples Mill. Henrico County has a study out there not an extension, but improvement, possible relocation. We've been taking a hands-off approach on that and letting them work through that process. And then we'll work with them.
But it was there for
Oh, but sure.
real best conference.
Doing what?
They have a study out on, right, TOD and potentially moving the station and a whole redesign, and again, we're taking a hands off the first.
So that's nothing in the deal.
We will see. Well, we'll see if they,
It's one of the big, of this region, it's one of the big missed opportunities, as I'm sure
There's
you
now a
would agree,
lovely
to do something
hotel
about
in the
this.
station building.
and I don't know how to solve it.
You can go
I
down
wish I
in
did.
the station building.
And I don't want to get too off the big on this, but we just went through a discussion a while ago about regionally about moving the station and decided to just keep it there and invest in additional land and everything. So I was surprised to hear that that was being reconsidered again. I'm like a resident with a long-term connection to this station. And back when I was active as an advocate, you know, members, I think like a supervisor. Nobody really could get fired up about Staplesville, and it struck me as such a fertile opportunity, not only the station, but the area around it. And Henrico, which is doing big things on our tracks, so to speak, it's totally oblivious to this. I can't comprehend it.
And VDOT
Staplesville
is,
is an industrial
I feel
area.
like they have finished or either near completion on a corridor study for Staples Mill, which talks about TOD and kind of central city or more upgrades and more walkable community with Staples Mill Station kind of as a hub and a center. So $20,000 to $100,000.
The audio has gone dead, at least at this end somehow.
That's happened to me as well, so I'm glad it's not. Sorry it's happening, but I'm glad it's not just me.
Same here.
Michael, you need to turn your microphone back on.
I believe is a caretaker
That's it.
station of the same size.
Okay.
And the next station down is more of a shelter station, just kind of a platform, a shelter, a smaller, fewer than 20,000 passengers, trading frequency of 6 to 200. Again, it's just a shelter. Some may have a waiting area with seating, but minimal. It's really just to kind of get on, get off, and move through the area.
Is that what Roanoke is?
At this time, yes.
What about Alexandria? Where is that?
Alexandria, oh, all right. No, Alexandria is a caretaker station. We've got a station there in Alexandria.
What do you mean by caretaker?
That was the category she listed.
Right, the previous one. And
Oh,
generally, the caretaker stations may not be staffed 24/7, so it's just kind of staff will be there and kind of around departure or arrival times and things. That's more of
Alexandria start at 7 in the morning and go to about 9 in the evening. So that would be a caretaker?
it is, but again, Amtrak staffs them, so that's kind of up to them. Some have more staffing, some have less. It kind of depends on the frequencies.
I'm sorry to ask, where is Oakley, Virginia?
It's not just a platform.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
it does. Yeah.
They got all the, yeah. 16.
So I won't go through all of our stations in Virginia, but I'll just talk about a few with kind of different parameters, like different ownerships and things like that. For Ettrick, VPRA, we're lucky to own the facility now. We own the parking lot, we own the land and the platform, still staffed by Amtrak. Right now, we are in the design phase of rehabbing the parking lot and ADA improvements to the station. So we are underway on that. Again, back to our philosophy of getting in there, getting good repair, keeping up the facilities that we own. We also recently submitted a planning grant for the Fed State Partnership to FRA. And it was just a planning grant for potential future expansion and NEPA work. So we're planning, we see this as a potential hub in the future. And we know the current facility, one, it's outdated, it doesn't meet our needs anymore. Can we do better? And we hope to do better in the future on this one.
Can I tell you a story about that and us? Because when the environmental impact studies were complete or in process anyway, for Southeast Access Rail. Right. Ettrick Station was supposed to move to where was it? Was some county
I think it's clean things.
where?
One of the things to move is a clean.
Anybody hear me?
I can't hear anything from anybody.
I heard Ken.
Yeah, I think we've lost them in the building there, and we're all here.
Did Mike mute his thing again?
He did.
Mike, you're muted again.
Hey, guys, this is Dwight. I'm gonna log out,
Okay.
try to log back in and see if I can talk to him.
Hold everything. I just talked to Michael on the phone and he's aware.
Oh, okay.
They've not been getting any of the audio,
Oh,
just the picture.
Oh, no.
Last thing I've got here is Petersburg Station.
Yeah.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, but when you were
Can you hear
talking
you now?
about, when you were talking about now we own the parking lot, et cetera, at Petersburg, you disappeared.
No, still not.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, we're sorry.
Please record it on the video.
I don't understand.
Meredith, can you hear me?
We can do whatever.
Do you think it might, it's probably recording on the Zoom call? I don't know.
Last minute.
We can hear you now.
On. The mic wasn't on.
And that says, okay, now that says it's on. Can you all hear us now?
Yes, can you hear
Yes.
me? Can you hear me? Meredith, do you hear me?
No.
No.
We already had it on before, but we couldn't.
Well, I saw the little light on that.
I mean, pictures before, it said we could hear it, so maybe they're not matching.
Where is the
You hear now? Well,
Blah, 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 blah. We can't
read the
hear
next
you.
one.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
I
Well,
just talked,
if you can hear Christine, then we'll let her continue with her presentation.
all right, let me say, you're all listening to this through my telephone.
No,
No.
no. What does this mean, join audio?
that looks like
Good question.
maybe-
I think it's there, if you can click. Oh. Let's get through it with that, let this go. Already joined by phone, join your computer already.
Let me ask this, is the audience find it acceptable to listen to that through my phone?
I don't think that's gonna work,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Well, let them ask their question. Can you guys hear them through?
Close that.
I can hear.
Close the one screen, do join the computer audio.
Because if they can, you could just keep going this way.
Yeah.
Whoa. Can you hear me?
Dwight, they've got me on the phone. They can hear me.
Yeah, they can't hear. Right.
Yes,
We can hear you now.
okay,
Hear it.
But you're still hearing it through my telephone.
Yeah.
But if it works, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Go.
Got a bit of an echo.
Right. See, I think this is, you can hear it. That's coming from here.
Now we got feedback.
That's coming from here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hear you, but I'm hearing you through my
Yeah.
telephone. I'm not hearing you through my laptop.
But your telephone, Michael's not here with your phone anymore. Did he? Did he leave the phone?
Let me hang up and see what happens here.
Yeah, hang up.
Okay, I've hung up.
If we do that, let's try.
All right. You're back. You're back.
All right,
Okay.
and now without the phone, there's not the echo.
Yeah.
No, there's a little echo. When you.
It's hearing me because it's coming from here.
Does anyone else unmuted on their computer? I have mine muted.
I muted mine.
I think it's bouncing around among you in the room there, and everybody else should mute theirs.
Well, now that we've muted our own personal devices and we're only using the OWL 3, there shouldn't be any more echo.
It sounds good now.
Very good.
Oh, okay.
At last,
All right.
thank you.
So I think now the question is, do I keep going or do I go back a little?
Well, the Petersburg station that went out while you were talking about what you picked up ownership of.
Okay, all right. Well, then that's okay.
Okay, that works.
We'll start here. For our Ettrick station, yes, we received this through the agreement with CSX. We now own the station. We own the property around it, including parking lot and platforms. We are looking to upgrade the facility. Right now, we're in the design phase of the parking lot and ADA improvements. We are trying to get this station back to more of a state of good repair. And that's our main focus right now. But we have also submitted a planning grant for future expansion and NEPA work to, I don't know, do something new to Ettrick Station. So more to come. If we get funding, we will push forward on future plans for Ettrick. So who knows, hopefully you'll see more with Ettrick, and it's kind of exciting. And I think we could really be a good partner and really develop this area to be a nice hub for BSU, for Ettrick itself, and also then passenger rail service comes up from Raleigh as well as Norfolk. It'll be a nice little hub. Okay, let's see. There we go. And now, New River Valley, our expansion plans to the west. Nothing is settled yet. We're assuming it's going to be a caretaker station site, based on preliminary ridership data. The facility owner will actually be the New River Valley Passenger Rail Station Authority that was created by the General Assembly. We are working with them now, to kind of program and start that process to begin the station. They'll own the parking lot. We will own the platform. So we'll do the platform improvements. We'll do the trackage to get there from Roanoke. And we are planning now with Amtrak also to build a layover facility out there. So lots of things happening in the New River Valley. We're getting there, and we'll just right now, as I was asked earlier, where are we at? We are doing lots of preliminary engineering. We are assessing details on the trackage, the Merrimack Tunnel, the condition, the geotechnical we're doing, especially around the tunnels, and making sure everything's safe and sound before we really start future work on it.
We have our report. The New River Valley.
Yes, we do, right?
Okay.
Sure do. And for other future things that are not wholly within VPRA's realm, but are to be determined coming up. The Crystal City Station in the near the Reagan and DC airport there. It's going to be an exciting piece. We're not sure the ridership. The facility is to be determined. I believe Amtrak has put forth a grant to FRA for station development here. They feel it's going to be a nice hub for them as well. We do too. Our involvement is the platform. Of course, we're supportive of the whole development. Really think this could be an exciting, nice station in development in the near future.
Christine, what am I saying?
Yes, the station will be kind of here since the track is here.
Okay.
There will be a pedestrian bridge from the station area, the whole development around Crystal City with Amazon Q2 happening. And this pedestrian bridge will go across the highway over to the airport. So it will truly be a multimodal hub. Imagining
It'll be a long walk.
it will be a bit of a walk, but at least we'll be multi-connected. Can you imagine taking a train from Richmond up to Crystal City to get onto a flight to take you to Europe? It would be pretty exciting.
It's a great and important connector that I applaud the planning of it. I just wish you could come up with a people mover.
Yeah. You know, that's not a bad idea. I don't know how long it is.
I don't believe the pedestrian bridge is our purview. We can talk to Amazon where. Oh, I'm not sure. I forget. There's so many players involved in this element that I forget is controlling what. But that pedestrian bridge, a people mover wouldn't be a bad idea since it is a long.
This is my old
Well,
home. So
another consideration here is there'd be a lot of foot traffic from Crystal City to the airport that could participate in the cost of making this more than just a walkway.
Oh, for sure.
Anyhow, you answered my question.
Okay, good. So more to come, but exciting development.
Could-
Yeah.
Could we back up for a second, please, to New River Valley? I didn't get a chance to get a question in.
Oh, sure.
What is the station location, or do we know?
We do not know
What is
yet.
it?
We are doing that preliminary engineering right now. And we're also going to start a NEPA document and an environmental assessment. FRA has asked us to do that as an expansion of the Roanoke train, extension of the Roanoke train, and to meet all their requirements.
All right, thank you.
Sure. And down to Ashland or up north to Ashland from Richmond. Again, this is another caretaker station. Right now, it's just a shelter. We still have a lot of ridership at 21,894 in fiscal year 22. So that was last year, and it's a good, it's serviced well. The facility is owned by the town of Ashland. We retain ownership of, actually do not retain ownership in this area. It's still CSX and the town kind of managing the platform.
Are you on one of the tracks?
Correct. So we own one of the tracks, but everything else, right, everything else is other entities. So again, we got to partner with others. We are planning for a passenger information display system, so an electronic information system to let passengers know which track the trains are arriving on and when they'll be coming. So those are good upgrades that we're participating in.
Is that real or is it just a wish?
I'm hoping it's real, as far as I know.
It was
real It's real.
in 19 and now it's still.
As far as I know, it's still real. It's still in our budget. I think a lot is depending upon discussions with Amtrak and installation, all of that. But Amtrak recently completed, you can see on the left side of the picture, a second platform and a shelter overhang.
But as John Bell knows, because he observes it probably daily, people are constantly confused about which track the trains are.
Correct.
That's a safety issue.
Oh, for certain. And that's why ideally that display would take care of that for us and let folks know where to be before the train comes along, well in advance.
That happened in Alexandria when we were there last too. People were confused.
Right.
And some people literally had to run across the, when you say it's a platform. but I
Right,
think
it's a walkway, yeah.
And a walkway downstairs through a tunnel,
Yep.
back up to get to the other station.
I,
While the train was arriving, they literally ran to get to it.
I can see it. I remember going,
Yeah.
visiting there, and yes, I know exactly where you're talking about. Yep.
And there's occasionally some similar confusion at Staples Mill, depending on where exactly they decide to platform the trains.
Mhm. Agreed. To talk further about some of our stations and kind of transit-oriented development. So we're not up to European standards, but Main Street Station has become a hub. The GRT Pulse BRT station is right outside of Main Street Station, free at this time, and just hop on and it goes up and down east-west on Broad Street. The station head house is a great event venue. There's lots of existing development around there. And really that has been a city-led effort. It's been organic development. VPRA, we've been supportive in platform renovations on the east and west sides. And also we are planning for a Richmond layover facility to help kind of push trains through and kind of turn around times quicker. So that is our involvement on this, but mainly this has been City of Richmond all the way. Okay. And speaking of Alexandria, exactly, Alexandria Station at King Street, while the Amtrak station is separate from Metro and bus, that area has really become a nice hub. It's been great. You come off the train, you do have to walk underneath this underpass here, but there's the Metro station. There's also bus in the area. That whole bus plaza is really a nice facility to get anywhere around the region. Our efforts are platform at Alexandria Station to improve that, our third track expansion in the area. And with that, we are widening this bridge you see we're underneath of it right now. On the right, well, excuse me, that's the Metro Bridge. Further in that picture, you'll see the open girders that deeper into the picture on the right, that's what we're improving. There are 2 bridges in that area. There are King and Commonwealth projects. And with that, we will be widening or allowing for the widening for underneath, in which the city of Alexandria wants to widen the streetscape, including better pedestrian access, as well as a bike lane. So when we build the bridges, we'll widen the base of them so the city can have more space underneath.
That will be a very disruptive project.
Yes, we are fully aware.
a very tight area,
Yeah,
high traffic.
There was some plan for a different way to get to the metro station. Is that tunnels plan still in effect, or is that going away?
we are not planning for a tunnel. It's just going to be through kind of the existing streetscape. It's just,
Allegedly, when WMATA constructed the metro station at King Street, they had provided for a future underground connection. To what extent, I don't know, but they used to refer to it as a knockout panel that would permit use of that existing tunnel that goes under the rail tracks to
okay.
continue on.
Hmm.
Don't know what status it will anything.
At this time, it's not in our plans. I will say that.
Could it be checked on?
I'll ask about it. I'll double check.
It's a no-brainer.
All right. Thanks for
Some
that.
of us are so old, we remember when George Washington lived.
That's right.
Surveys and all that.
We watched him go to the Masonic meetings.
It is just up the hill there. A different take on transit-oriented development is with the Newport News Station. That's more of a transportation center. Buses are going to come in here to the new Newport News Station. It'll be Amtrak, HRT bus. Again, that's more of a city-led effort. They did the design, the station. Again, VPRA, we did the service expansion, as well as track and platform improvements. So again,
I hope somebody concentrates on signage, on roadway signage, because it's not the easiest place.
to find,
If you're a local, of course, you know, but I every now and then try to check on, and as I pass by on 64,
sure,
try to check on the progress of the construction. And you have to go around your elbow several times to get
to
there.
it. Okay,
And so I
Take a
know
look.
it's too big a challenge to fix, but the signage is
But-
important for sure.
for sure. Okay. Another thing I'll check on. And I think I've come to the end. I have. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a good discussion. I know this has been a quick tour around the Commonwealth, but we're again, supportive of our local governments, station authorities, other interested parties, and to work together to create better stations around the Commonwealth. So
Glad you're on board.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I will stop sharing and we'll move forward.
Thank you, Christine. I'm assuming everybody can still hear me. Craig Newton is up next. Craig, are you able to take over as a co-host?
I want to be sure you can hear me.
We can hear you. That's
Okay,
good.
yeah. Okay, I just need somebody to allow me to share my screen. It says host has disabled it.
I'm making you co-host, but now I'm going to introduce you.
Okay, go ahead.
Craig Newton holds a civil engineering degree from NC State University, and he's licensed in that state as a professional engineer. And following prior experience in the private sector and municipal engineering, he began working with NC DOT's rail division in 2000. And during that tenure, He managed nearly 30 major station improvement projects totaling 280 million, as well as 2 train maintenance facilities, one of which our group toured in 2019 in Raleigh. And he also has been involved in the one in Charlotte. And he has graduated from working for NCDOT Rail Division, and he's now a facilities engineer with WGI Incorporated, and does on-site. He is the on-site consultant to the NCDOT Rail Division. So, Greg, let's find out a little bit more about how things are going in North Carolina, and from your perspective as a facilities designer.
Thank you, Michael. I'll dive right in. I know we're a little bit short on time. Just starting out with an overview, there are 16 active rail stations in North Carolina on existing Amtrak corridors, as well as 3 proposed stations that are in various stages of design. So we have 19 stations total, and those are the focus of the presentation. The data I'm going to provide is related to the ownership of the platform, because in some cases the station building is not the same as the platform.
Yep.
2 of the stations have single side platforms now, and a second side platform will be built soon. So the data I'm providing is related to the second platform. A couple of station stops that aren't included are temporary stops that open annually to serve the Lexington Barbecue Festival for 1 day, and the NC State Fair for 10 days. The Lexington platform is portable and is moved into place for each train. The NC State Fair train for many years stopped at the Blue Ridge Road at grade crossing, but a permanent platform will soon be constructed as part of the Blue Ridge Road grade separation project, which is currently underway. So just for comparison, you're familiar with train service in Virginia. Just want to show you where we are here in North Carolina. This is for the federal fiscal year 22. You'll see Charlotte is by far the highest ridership in the state, around 200, and Raleigh 177, and on down the line. And you can even see the ridership for the State Fair and Lexington Barbecue Festivals down below. Through this fiscal year, the ridership, as you may have realized as well, is increasing greatly month by month as the economy has recovered from the pandemic and so forth. So I don't have the ridership for October 1 to present day, but it's going to be substantially higher next fiscal year. And for comparison, Christine mentioned this earlier, Richmond is seeing about 300,000 passengers per day during this same period.
Yeah.
This includes the trains per day is current. We are getting ready to embark on another Piedmont service between Raleigh and Charlotte that will begin on July 21st. We also have several proposed service corridors. You'll see here they include the Raleigh to Richmond, Raleigh to Wilmington, and Salisbury to Asheville, and they are not included in this presentation. So of the 19 platforms, 2 are just on NS, 9 are on the North Carolina Railroad Company corridor, which is leased to NS, 5 are solely on CSX, and 3 are on all 3 railroads. Of the 19, 1 is a center island and level boarding. That's the Raleigh Union Station. 3 are center island low platform, 8 inches above top of rail. 11 are single side. 4 are or will soon be double side low platforms. The one on the right is the Salisbury, North Carolina platform. Of the 19 platforms, 2 are owned by Norfolk Southern and leased to Amtrak. 15 are owned by the municipality and leased to Amtrak or DOT, and 2 are owned by DOT. Of the 19, 8 stations are staffed by Amtrak agents and provide full service. 8 are attended by NCDOT administered attendants. And 2 are attended by Amtrak attendants and 1 is unattended. I do want to add that NCDOT contracts with an agency to provide personnel who open and close the station, greet passengers, answer their questions, assist with the automated ticketing. They stage the wheelchair lifts, though they can't operate it. And the average cost at those stations is about $150,000 per year. We know the passengers appreciate the amenity, and the attendance assistance has proven to expedite boardings and reduce dwell time. Of the 19, 6 only handle state-supported service, 4 handle non-state supported, and 9 handle a mix. So this has been the typical platform section that we've been using in the past. Most of our platforms are concrete slab on grade with a turn down foundation on the trackside edge. These were difficult to construct due to having to excavate next to the tracks, forming, pouring, finishing, and curing of concrete under traffic. Amtrak's recent ADA platform projects have a cantilevered concrete slab, so the foundation and under drain are further from the tracks, which simplifies the installation. And we've adopted this section as our standard for platform designs going forward. Platform widths, we try to have 12 feet minimum if there's no baggage service. Where there is baggage service, Amtrak typically likes to see 16 feet. What we've seen is some Amtrak agents aren't capable of turning a baggage cart around in the 16 feet they're given. So, we try to give them 20 feet. If we can't provide 20 feet for the entire length, in several cases, we've built 20-foot squares on the ends of the platform so they can at least go to the end of the platform and easily turn around without venturing too close to the edge. Center island platforms usually have a stair, elevator, escalator, either down to or up into it. And so we typically try to keep 8 feet from the vertical circulation structure to the edge of the platform. That provides 2 feet for the tactile edge, and then 6 feet is plenty of room for 2 passengers to pass one another safely. Regarding the platform length, the Piedmont trains are usually 4 cars and a locomotive, which is 340 feet. So we have been trying to stick with 400 feet minimum where it's feasible. The Carolinians are usually 6 cars over 500 feet, so 600 feet roughly. The longer distance trains, maybe 7 to 9 cars, so 800 or 900 feet at least is preferable there. We do use Amtrak's station standards that conform with ADA. We're also bound to abide by Norfolk Southern station guidelines from 2018. They do not conflict with Amtrak standards, but they disallow low center island platforms adjoining their tracks unless side platforms are, quote, unworkable. So stations on double track then require duplicated platforms and vertical circulation on each side versus single circulation in the center. Of the 4 projects in North Carolina affected by this rule, 2 are underpass access and 2 are overhead. Overhead is generally preferred due to lower cost. The underpass was selected in Salisbury for historic district concerns, and in Lexington due to favorable topography. So this is a depiction of the proposed Lexington, North Carolina station. You'll see here we have 2 400-foot long platforms. The label you can't see because it's too small is 440 feet, but that accounts for the 20-foot squares on the ends of the platform, which would allow easier turning around. But this is a case where now that we in the city are going to have to build a concourse that goes under the platforms and up to 2 different platforms instead of a single one in the middle. So that's going to increase the initial capital cost and ongoing maintenance costs. But that's the card we've been dealt. So we'll do the best to make the best of it. One tenet of our program has been to be sure that we allow for expansion of stations. So we build for what we need immediately, but we have space available either under the city's ownership or an adjacent space for expansion. In this case, the city of Kannapolis now uses this portion of the waiting room facing the tracks, including all the restrooms and an attendance office. This area to the right was initially used as a city council chamber until the city of Kannapolis built a much nicer city council municipal building nearby. And now it's leased by the Parks and Rec for events. They have a lot of meetings and ceremonies, parties, weddings, and that sort of thing. But when the time comes where this station outgrows the space available, we can expand into that additional space. I want to address a couple of items that were discussed when your group did the tour in 2019. So how are we doing on time? I've got about 5 more minutes, I think. Are we doing okay?
Take your time, as long as
Okay.
we're not cut off. They don't pull the plug on us, we're good.
Okay. All right. When Alan Paul conducted the tour in 2019, we had backup generators at 8 of our 16 stations, and that's still the same number we have today. We've aspired to equip others as funding allows, but so far that hadn't come about. The ones that are equipped with backup power can serve as a haven or shelter for citizens if needed. In emergencies, first responders may have other city-owned facilities better equipped to serve as a command center, but they would augment that at these stations if needed. I'm not aware of them having to do that, but it's always good to have that extra capacity. Alan also mentioned the Safest Place program, which is to assist youth in crisis. And sadly, that program in North Carolina was a victim of the financial crisis within NCODOT, staff turnover, and COVID. But I'm glad to say, because Michael brought it up in preparation for this meeting, we've begun discussions again with Amtrak to revive that. I don't know how long that's going to take, but thank you, Michael, for the suggestion, for having us look into it anyway. Finally, you're familiar with the Raleigh Union. Some of you are familiar with Raleigh Union Stations on the left. That was our first high level platform. The Charlotte Gateway Station platform was completed in October. This was the first train that we brought in to be sure clearances were appropriate and so forth. Charlotte Gateway Station is currently in the planning and design phase. The city of Charlotte has partnered with a private developer to develop not only the station, but a great deal of vacant land that will become a transportation-oriented development. You can see to the right of the locomotive in this picture, all of that grassy area for 3 or 4 blocks from there to the north will all be part of a substantial private development. Though the platforms are classified as level boarding, the gap between the passenger car vestibules and platform edges is still 7 inches, which is not accessible for some passengers. And they often require deploying a bridge plate for that gap. We've long aspired to reduce that gap to 3 inches as allowed for in ADA. And I'm pleased to say that we have a gap filler basis of design study that has been submitted to Amtrak and FRA and is under review. The gap filler is a metal plate with rubber fingers, which project to within 3 inches of the car vestibule. The fingers are rigid enough to not collapse under the weight of a human, but they will collapse sideways in the event they are struck by train equipment. Following approval of stakeholders, we plan to deploy 125 feet on either side of the platform and observe its performance and durability. If successful, it will be deployed the full length of both sides. So my hope is Amtrak will then deploy this elsewhere in its system. Before I go to my last slide, I want to add something to the discussion about the PIDs and the dual platforms. In our negotiations with Norfolk Southern to add the second platforms at Kannapolis and Salisbury, we don't have room there to put in an inter-track fence between the two platforms to prevent what was described earlier, somebody being on the wrong platform and dashing across, the track. So what they've required is that we have an attendant at those stations that guides the passengers to the proper platform. And the agreement basically said if there's not a human there to guide the passengers, then you can't board there. So keep that in mind as you're planning. Also, my understanding is that the PIDs as currently configured isn't capable of telling the station which track the train is going to come in on. So I've heard that. I've also heard that it can. So Christine, when you're planning for that, just make sure you're getting good intel from Amtrak and their PIDs experts about that system's capabilities.
Will do, thanks.
Yeah. And finally, I'd just like to share this picture about Union Station every chance I get. The picture on the left was in 2011. We had just begun a feasibility study and our DOT photographer came in to kind of document what we had just for future reference. The picture on the right was in 2019, standing in the exact same spot as I was in 2011 on the same day of the year, the same time of day. It was a labor of love. So many talented people contributed to its success. If any of you have not had the opportunity to see it, please come down and I would love to give you a tour. And that is my presentation.
Thank you very much, Craig. That was really enjoyable.
Thank you for inviting me.
We took a tour of Raleigh Station a year or two, I guess,
Yeah, 2019.
2019. It was a beautiful station, very inspiring and very comfortable.
I agree with all of that.
From what we learned today, there's so much on the horizon that we're going to probably have to do another program on the same topic, maybe in another 24 months, because there'll probably be a lot more neat stuff to go around. But for everybody who has attended today, I want to thank you. Before we close out, if there are anyone that has a pressing question, we might see if we have an opportunity to cover something that someone may have not picked up from what was already delivered.
Michael,
this is Dwight.
Stations be shared someplace or stored so we can have access to them?
We're going to try to do that, yes.
Thank you.
Hey, Michael, I had a question.
Go ahead.
It was about the Staples Mill, no, excuse me, the Ashland Station. Does anyone know if that's turning into a commuter station for Northern Virginia yet?
Not at this time.
You don't know?
Sort of the reverse, due
Oh.
to more work from home.
Right.
There was more commutation. It never was a high volume, but there was more commutation from the Ashland Station to Northern Virginia prior to the pandemic than there is today.
Right.
Dwight, if your question was, will VRE be extended down there? That's not in anybody's playbook right now.
Correct.
Yeah, I figure that's 20 years out, but I just thought I'd ask the question.
Yeah, past everyone's lifetime in this room, if I really want to be curmudgeon about it.
Oh, maybe not.
But hope springs eternal, hope springs eternal. And after all, we have to find a way to become carbon independent or carbon neutral in this country. And one little step at a time. That's how we're gonna get there. Anybody else have a question? If not, I want to thank everybody for participating and I think we did pretty good for our first hybrid meeting. There were some glitches, but we'll get better at this and we'll probably be having our meetings by hybrid format going forward. And there will be an effort to get a link of our program on video sent to everybody as soon as the dust settles. So and in the meantime, if you have a question or want some information about something you saw in our program today, I may be able to furnish it if you will contact me individually. I will get to it when I'm not mowing the lawn or doing personal things that need to be done, which been on the back burner for about a week.
So I'd like to thank the Virginia Conservation Network for letting us be here today and all the help with their laptops and their equipment here in the center of the table that enabled us to bring this to you today.
Absolutely. There are not many people who will take us in.
You know, we're such a ragged bunch here, but thank you to the Virginia Conservation Network. We're really grateful for that.
This has been an excellent venue, absolutely excellent.
Really lovely.
And I thank you, Michael, for all you do.
Yes.
You're keeping the flame alive
Yeah.
and representing us so well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dick. All right, everybody, until next time, happy rails to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have a list?